Happy Life, Chapter 13. Always put your trust in divine help. Should you feel besieged with no way out, help will arrive from God. Never doubt the divine paternity. God watches over and helps you, not always as you would like, but in the way that is best for your true happiness. At times, it may seem that divine help will not arrive or will arrive too late. But afterward, if you waited, you will see that it did arrive a short time before. This little message from Happy Life talks to us about the trust that we should have in the divine, in God, and that we should never doubt the divine paternity. In other words, we should never doubt God's love, God's concern, God's care towards us. So God watches over and helps us all the time. What we need to understand though is that when it comes to our evolutionary process, we are still very much at times like little children or perhaps teenagers who don't have yet the best understanding and the broader vision of life in order to understand that sometimes what we are asking, what we are desiring, is not necessarily the best for us. It might be the best maturely speaking, it might be the best according to our values, but it's not the best when we think about ourselves as immortal beings and our journey, our evolutionary journey. God knows what's best. When we study and when we talk about God in spiritism, we're always referring to God as the highest intelligence of the universe, as the most powerful infinite source of love, compassion, justice, mercifulness. Therefore, when it's time to ask God for something and it's time to relate to God, we need to remember that this is the way we understand God, and we need to, it will be helpful if we can bring this cognitive idea into a feeling of trust and surrender, knowing that there is no prayer that's not heard and answered when it's done with in a heartfelt way. So when we ask God for anything, even if it's not reasonable or the best for us, our prayer, our plea, our anxiety, our anguish, whatever feelings we put into it, will be heard, will be attended to. But many times, the answer may be no answer. The answer may be silence, pure silence, because the answer is not to come from outside, but it is to come from within. Sometimes the answer comes, but it's not what we were wishing for, so we won't be able to recognize it unless we stop, we breathe, and we try to pay attention from the moment that we ask, moving forward, to the signs, to the people that come into our lives, to the things that are said to us, to unexpected things that happen in our day-to-day. Because a lot of times, and if not all the time, people are the messengers. They are bringing messages from God to us. So if we are taken by despair, if we're taken by anxiety, if we're taken by doubt, many times we will be unable to perceive God's answers. And always remember that the answer may not be an answer, although it doesn't mean that God did not hear or does not know about us. It just means that perhaps what we're asking for is not the best for us in a given moment. So when we talk about prayer, we always like to say, don't ask for anything in particular, but ask for the ability, the courage, and the strength to accept God's will for yourself, right? Because we often don't know what's best for us. But trust God. That's really the gist of the message. Trust God. Always put your trust in divine help. It may not seem that the help will arrive or will arrive too late, but afterwards, if you waited, you will see that it will arrive. It will arrive to you in some way, shape, or form, because God always loves us and always, always look after each one of us individually. So have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I will see you again next week.